freedom isn't the result of wealth, it's the foundation. Welcome to Wealth Independence, where freedom leads and real wealth follows through battle-tested strategies, hard-won lessons, and real-world experience. You'll discover how to accelerate your path to true financial independence. And now your hosts, Dustin Bailey and Adam Penn.
All right, welcome back to the Wealth Independence Podcast, where freedom leads and real wealth follows. I'm Dustin Bailey, and here today is Adam Penn. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Dustin. How are you doing today?
Trying to come up with different ways to introduce you.
Introduce me, yeah.
Yeah. I'm really running out.
How is it today out in East Tennessee?
It's funny you should ask. We're recording this episode here in late March. It is a beautiful day. Actually, I kind of wish I'd gone flying today. It was a little bit windy, but not a cloud in the sky. Like textbook spring weather here. It's been interesting. It was like in the mid 80s last week, and then I think it's going to be in the 20s sometime later this week. So, yeah, what is it? I always think whenever people ask about the weather, I think it's Robert Helms that said, why did God give us weather so that strangers would have something to talk about?
Yeah, I think of that a lot too.
Yeah, I do too.
It's a pretty
but on
good
that
one.
note, how's the weather out in Chico?
It's beautiful. It was 90 all last week, so it's back into the 80s. Yeah, 81 today, so that's good.
You've been flying?
No, I have not. I think I have a trip coming up that we're going to go on. See, and I was talking to Kelsey about this the other day. Like, I don't fly for fun. Like, she went to this 99ers club thing where, like, it's basically like not co-pilots, but passengers can, like, learn about systems and stuff. And she did that. And she was like, oh, I learned about, like, there's these fly-ins here and here and here. I was like, do you want to go? She's like, well, would you want to go? I was like, not really my thing. She's like, no, I don't really want to go. She was like, why do you do the aviation thing? And I was like, to get from point A to point B faster, right? Like, people don't go wait in line at an airport. Not that that's what private aviations is like, but they don't go wait in line at the airport because they want to be on the plane, right? And I do like the planes. They're cool. It's fun to do, but I'm not a go to an air show type of guy.
You're not about like the $100 burger, which I think nowadays is probably like the $250 burger.
I don't mind doing that and going to a nice place. Like, if it's to go to the nice place, right? Like Shelter Cove's a prime example, right? I do it because it's a beautiful place and I can get there in an hour versus 4-hour drive.
I got you. Okay.
Which is one reason I would like a larger plane, right? A 182 is a great plane, but I think, I don't know, whatever those P-26s, I think they were, the Piper turboprop, something that can do 300 knots. 300 sounds great. Seems like you'll get there fast. If you got flight into known icing, that'd be cool. Something with like a 30,000 foot service ceiling would be great. Most of those Pipers have flight into known icing.
Nice. Okay. Well,
we've lost everyone now.
Yeah. Except for the handful of folks that are pilots, which is interesting. The world is larger than I thought. This is the last aviation related comment that I'll make. I just thought it was funny that on our trip to Tulsa, we found out that two of the people that we've both known for a while, like two other people on this trip were also pilots, and it just kind of came out. So it's a larger world than I guess it sometimes seems. But speaking of great places to fly to, I would like to fly to Waco and go to the coffee shop of today's guest, because we have a guest today.
We do.
And that's my transition into our
the intro. Do I do the intro or do you do the intro?
We can do it either way.
You should do it.
Okay. Well, I can do it. So today's guest is Cameron Philgreen. Interesting guy. Has his hands in a lot of different things. I definitely kind of resonate with a little bit of his origin story of thinking about what retirement's going to be and coming across Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that sort of leading to real estate. I feel like that he's talked about that, and that kind of mirrors my own journey. But he's in Waco, Texas. Like I said, got his hand in a lot of different things. Got rentals, got the coffee shop, doing some commercial properties now. And interesting guy, and we're excited to talk with him today. So I don't know, Adam, if you got any other comments. If not, we'll dive straight into the interview.
Let's dive in. Well, Cameron, I'm glad you were able to join us today. I think the best way to start this off is for you to just tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Stoked to be here. I'm in Waco, Texas. I'm a real estate investor. I've been doing it about 6 years. And yeah, long story short, I I guess I'll just share my kind of full story. I guess the longer version. This is a podcast, right?
Yeah.
You can go longer.
Long
From
form.
Kansas City, and I went to KU, I got really connected with a church there, got my life completely transformed by God. First couple of years of college, and then got connected with the church, met my wife, and shortly after we got married, I discovered Bigger Pockets. I was putting myself through college doing wedding photography. Shot about 400 weddings now, and still do a couple a year, but definitely have like replaced that kind of business with the real estate side of things, which I'll get to, but definitely got the self-employed kind of entrepreneurship bug doing wedding photography. My wife and I were full-time doing that for a few years. And we're kind of like, how are we going to retire? Like, what's the plan for money for the future? Like, are we just going to work at home and shoot weddings for the rest of our lives? I don't know if this is the best plan. So at some point we read Rich Dad Poor Dad together. And then shortly after that, kind of discovered Bigger Pockets and Graham Stephan. I discovered the BRRRR method: buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And it just kind of blew my mind, and all this new world of passive income and real estate investing. And so this was around 2018. We got our first house, kind of rented out the room. We were actually sharing a bathroom with strangers on Airbnb for about a year. And yeah, and just kind of got our feet wet with what does it look like to like be a landlord and to house hack, and okay, we got to get the contracts, and we had never bought a house before, so that was all new. What the heck is earnest money? Just like the stuff that we say and do all day long, every day, nowadays, like, was totally new. And this was, 8 years ago. So we got into this first house, and I talk about this first house all the time because it kind of led to some pretty significant future events that we just didn't know. And I always encourage people, hey, start investing in real estate, even just through your primary residence, like buy a house, because you just don't know how that might change your future. So we moved to Waco. We actually felt led to move to Waco in 2019. So instead of selling that house, we rented it out. And it sounds, maybe like, oh, that's a pretty normal thing to do to the audience, but like this was completely new territory for us. Moved to Waco and then got another house with as many bedrooms and as much square footage as we could, and some value add opportunity. We fixed up the kitchen, paint, floor, things like that. And we got this 5-bedroom house, and then we Airbnb'd all the bedrooms in this new house. We're still sharing the bathroom with strangers. And, fast forward 4 years from that point, I guess, we started investing more heavily, active investing, BRRRR method, buying single family, fixing it up, refinancing it, renting it out, creating passive income, between $400 and $800 a month. Also got into Airbnb, which is a little bit better cash flow. But it was around 2022, we sold that house in Lawrence, the first one we bought. And, if you know the Section 121, the live in a house for 2 out of any 5-year period, you can have some or all those gains tax free. So we took all those gains, about $110,000, and put it into this commercial property and started a coffee shop here, which has just been a lifelong dream for me and my wife. And so we have this phenomenal shop here called For Keeps Coffee. It's, specialty coffee, third wave coffee. We have in-house scratch bakery, and it's just led to so many amazing connections, and just feel like we're really making a difference in the city and in people's lives. And it's just led to other commercial deals. I'm fixing up 50,000 square feet of commercial space and trying to basically like do what we did over there with 5,000 feet and do the same thing with 50,000 feet. And like none of that would have happened if we hadn't started the shop and fixed up that whole corner. And that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't just bought this dinky little 1,000 square foot 3-bedroom house way back in 2017. So, I know your audience is mostly LPs and the like, but, I always encourage people, like, invest in real estate as much as you can if you want to be an active investor, because you just don't know how it's going to change your life in the future. And it's like literally one of the best decisions I've ever made. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell, and welcome to go whatever direction you want from there.
I actually, and this might be a little off topic, but I was looking at the coffee shop today on Google Maps, and the satellite view is one view because you've got an excavator sitting in the parking lot on the satellite view. I'm sure that's right when you bought it, and then the street view is actually really pretty. Is it also your cigar shop next door, or just the same lettering?
I own the building that the cigar lounge is in, and I am cigar, I wouldn't say aficionado, but I like a cigar about once a month, and so I was very open to those guys coming in and being a tenant. So they're my
But it's
tenants.
not. But it's not your shop.
No.
I guess Dustin wins that bet. Then I was sure it was your shop.
We did control the facade and the branding a little bit because we wanted it to sort of look and feel the same. But so good guess on both of you guys.
So I think you have a really interesting story, right? And it actually kind of mirrors mine a little bit. I started in the Airbnb space and kind of continued down the path of doing bigger deals. I won't bore you with that, but there was a time when you transitioned from renting out a bedroom in the houses that you were in to this commercial space, and you're doing more BRRRRs, right? So you have other long-term rentals. What was kind of the switch in your mind from, hey, I'm making more money renting out these units bedroom by bedroom, to maybe trying to do a bigger deal or something like that?
And actually now, like 2026 and late 2025, I've been focused on flipping. So I've got about 25 rental properties, and I'm just kind of at my max. I'm managing a lot, like most of them myself pretty much. And I'm just like, I either need to like hire a management company so I can keep going or start one. But I've just been focused on flipping and selling this year and just trying to, but anyway, the transition from your question was like renting by the room to the bigger deals, or
Did you just stumble into the coffee shop and some of the long-term BRRRRs, or was it kind of a meaningful, hey, the nightly rentals take so much time, right? Because could you imagine if you were still I'm assuming these aren't all Airbnbs?
we have like 3 Airbnbs and like 4 or 5 midterm rentals, and
But could you imagine if every one of these was a rent by room? How many
right.
times a day you'd be getting a call for a door code?
That'd be bonkers. And in fact, you're right on the money. I just like I have like a 500 square foot furnished unit, and I'm just like, dude, I'm done trying to find tenants every 2-3 months. Like, let's just put a long-term tenant in this thing. So I'm moving that direction more and more. Giving up a little cash flow for the more passive income approach. So, and yeah, I mean, I think everybody, if you get into real estate investing, you want to start getting into the bigger deals. And so it's not that I stumbled into it. It's just like when you become known as, oh yeah, like he's a cash buyer, a real estate investor, he's a fix and flipper or whatever. People start to kind of bring you those larger deals whenever you, I don't know, like because of what we did for Keeps, fixing that whole thing up, and then I fixed the corner up, whole different story. I took this distressed commercial building next to the shop and like fixed that up and made 3 retail units. So when people caught wind of that and saw like how good it turned out, to be honest, that's just how this 50,000 square feet of shopping center space came about. Was someone just kind of brought me the deal. So yeah, I think it's just like continue to just do the small incremental steps up, and continue to put yourself out there like I am right now. Just come on podcasts and share your story, and then the deals will just kind of start to come.
Yeah, building a reputation kind of definitely helps.
Yeah.
Start meeting more people in the industry. What is something that you learned along the way of investing? Because you have a lot of hands-on experience. What's something that it's just a no-brainer thing that you look for now that you didn't even know about kind of when you started?
With the single family side?
With anything, right? I mean, it could be an underwriting metric you look for, a town you don't go to anymore. I don't know, just something that you've learned along the way.
Yeah. I think the main thing that has been so helpful, just like as I've gone along, is just, and this is going to sound silly, it might sound obvious, but just to not be emotionally attached to any deal. And what I mean by that is like I used to just sweat over, are they going to accept my offer? Like I just have to get this deal. or I'm not going to be okay. And now like, I think it's just the increased deal flow, and it's like, I don't care if they accept my offer or not. You've got to be okay with like putting 10 offers in and getting 9 no's, and just be okay with like, because if the numbers don't work for you, then they're not going to work. And so I've just been in this situation several times where, the deal wasn't as good as we thought it was, or, we bought it too high. This is what happens to all sorts of beginner investors when they're first starting out, is those first couple, you usually buy them too high. And I've done that several times. And so just being okay with like, look, this is where I'm at as far as purchase price. And like, I don't care if you accept it or not. I don't need the deal. So just putting yourself in a position where you don't need it. You can walk away anytime, no skin off my back. I have one that I am kind of emotional about right now. It's like 5,000 square feet of this shell building, new roof, really good bones, and we want to turn it into 5-unit multifamily. And the seller's just giving us a hard time about, just like the 70-day contingency for rezoning and like the purchase price and can you give me equity? And we're just like, dude, no, we're walking away. If like, I'm not emotional about this, and I am because I'm on this podcast, but I'm like just emailing the agent, like, if he doesn't like it, we'll walk away, like no big deal. And I really do feel that way. And I think just putting yourself in a position where you're okay with walking at any point is super, super important. Because if you're not okay with walking, then you're going to end up like making a mistake, or, giving concessions that you're going to regret later, or just buying too high. If you're not okay with walking, you're probably going to do a bad deal, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, to me, it sounds like you've really built a set of criteria, or just knowing that you will have criteria on any deal, and those are the guidelines that you need to fall inside of. And if they start to bounce outside of that, and a few things can move in one way or another, but you can't have the seller just dragging you along.
Exactly. Yeah.
I kind of learned that same lesson early on, right? And you hear people say that about, oh, don't get emotional, but then once you get into it, it's hard, right? You're like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, this is a great property. It's a lovely location. There's so much opportunity here, and it can be very hard to like detach from that.
Yes.
And I think even for like Adam, you and I sort of struggle with that. You've got a project that's been close to your heart that you've been working on that you got, right, but there was still some emotion behind that. And I think even for passive investors, that can be a thing, right? You have to be willing to walk away from a deal, even if there's red flags that pop up. Like even if it's it's an apartment building in a part of town you've been wanting to invest in, it's a sponsor you like, but if there's enough red flags, like you have to still be able to walk away from that. And I think treating investing like a proper business, like you have to do it. Otherwise, you're just going to end up walking into a buzzsaw and not know it until it's way too late.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just if you get anything out of this show, it's just being willing and being okay with walking away from the deal at any point is super, super important.
Yeah. Well, I guess a question I wanted to ask about, I know we were talking a little bit before we hit record here. You've kind of got your hands in a lot of different things, right? You've got your rental portfolio with the coffee shop. You host a podcast, correct? So you've got your own podcast and coaching and a course and some other things. So like, how do you manage all of that? And how, like from a entrepreneurial standpoint, how do you avoid burnout?
Yeah, honestly, some weeks are crazy busy. In entrepreneurship, I think this is true. Like some weeks are crazy busy, and other weeks, because the goal with real estate investing, right, is to create passive income and to have time freedom. But yet we like get ourselves in this business and it's like we're busy all the time. So anyway, some weeks are super busy, other weeks like are dead. And it's great. And I have like a lot more time with my family and stuff. So yeah, I have 3 kids and the coffee shop and rentals and about 2 flips going on at any given time. And I think I'm getting better at just creating systems and team, I think is the biggest thing. And when I say team, I don't really mean like 20 people. I really mean just a few people. So on the rental property side, you need a solid contractor. Probably the biggest superpower, if you will, that I have as a real estate investor and flipper is my contractor. It took me a long time to find the right guy, but I've just got this guy and his crew of like 4 or 5 people, and we've just worked together enough. I know like I can just give him the scope of work, we work out pricing, and I can just let him go. I just trust him. I know he'll finish well, and it just takes a while to find that person. I've done enough flips, BRRRRs, whatever, rehabs, that I've worked with some rough contractors that just did a horrible job, and just not willing to cut corners like that anymore. And so I
We've
pay
met
this
the
guy
same
really
contractor.
well. Yeah.
Several of his clones.
Finding somebody that can go fast, that's not super cheap, that does good, mainly the finish work, and like electrical, plumbing, HVAC, the MEPs, doing really good work on the MEPs and finish work. Basically the whole rehab, right? Like, doing a good job, going fast. So you're paying for its price and speed.
The trick is knowing when you need to redo the job, right? Not saying redo the whole job, but like you're going to cut a stud and it's going to be short. And like the guy needs to know when you just move on because it doesn't matter, or when you fix it, right? Because that's the constant decision is, do I do it again? Do I make it a little bit better?
Yeah, that's good. There's price and speed and quality. And they say you should pick 2 of those. So mine are speed and quality. I want speed and quality. I pay this guy, pretty well, I think. And so I've chosen speed and quality. And if we can get it done fast and do a good job, I'll pay you the money. So anyway, back to team and systems, having a good contractor and then having private money or hard money, just like at the ready, is a huge, not having the money ready to go or the lender ready to go and having a good deal in your inbox or looking at it, boots on the ground, that's a rough feeling. You're like, I really want this deal, but I don't know how, I don't know who's going to pay for it. So having that at the ready. So lender, contractor, and then obviously realtor. I'm not a licensed realtor, so I have a good realtor that I can call on for ARV, for comps, and obviously to sell whenever we're ready. It's good to have a realtor on your team and also someone who, if you're going to be doing volume, will give you the 2% commission instead of 3%. So we have that going. And then obviously the coffee shop, that's a whole separate. I know that's not what this podcast is focused on, but same thing over there. Just having a team. So we've got a head of bakery, head of roaster, and I've got a head of coffee. I'm the kind of coffee guy, but I do have a head of coffee that I've kind of empowered to make decisions and manage people and hire and fire and stuff as a manager. So yeah, man. And so if we have the systems and the team in place, then I can pretty much relax, for the most part, and just be there when there's a fire to put out or a problem to solve. But I'm trying to not burn out by creating systems and teams that work for me and give me time freedom and not just another job to do.
I am kind of curious. I know we've referenced the coffee shop. Adam and I both love coffee. I'm a little curious about if you can plug it here for anybody that's in the Waco area or was going through. Tell us a little bit about it, because I actually know we have a handful of listeners who are also coffee people. So it sounds like you've got a head of roastery, so you're roasting your own beans. I'm curious where you're sourcing some of those. Like, we could take a little diversion into coffee shop land. I think that's all right.
The building, like I've mentioned a couple times, the building kind of next door. And we renovated it everything new, completely new, into 3 separate units. And we occupy one of those units with the roasting facility. So we just launched the roasting facility like 6 months ago. And we just started our roasting program, which is really exciting because you can only scale a cafe so far. Like ultimately you're bound to like how much parking is there and how many like seats do you have. Whereas roasting, we can like pretty much infinitely scale theoretically. So really excited to keep building that program. And yeah, man, like if you want me to plug it, if you have a cafe is the best. If you have a cafe that you want a new roaster, our prices are good. Our product is super solid. Your business, your church, your office, pretty much anyone with an EIN, we can, ship our coffee to you at wholesale prices. So that's one thing. And yeah, it's called For Keeps Coffee if you're ever in Waco. And yeah, my story is like, I went to college and just worked at this third wave shop. We did mostly pour overs, and we were really serious about coffee and extraction and espresso mixed up. Don't you dare ever say espresso around me like I just did. I will be mad. I'm mad at myself just for saying espresso. But yeah, we're just really serious about extraction and pour overs, and really just we treat coffee the same as you would wine or cigars or hard liquor, just like really pulling out those flavor notes. So yeah, that's for keeps. And yeah, we love it. We really care about our customer and the customer experience and the drink presentation and bakery presentation and the space and the vibe and the way it feels.
Let me tie that back in, I guess, to the maybe a more business related conversation. Like, what have you learned through that you haven't learned elsewhere? Like, that was new, and maybe that you're able to take that. Like, have you learned anything from the coffee shop that you've been able to take, lessons you've been able to take back to like the real estate business, or any sort of cross learnings there?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do things excellently, especially when it comes to leadership and leading others into excellence. So I've learned over this past 3 years of the shop more about leadership and just like, I'm not the one behind bar usually. I used to be a lot more, but I'm just trying to spend my time in other places. I was behind bar today for a second. Like, I still get behind bar and I pour drinks occasionally, but like trying to lead and empower other people to do it better than me and to do things excellently. Same with like my contractor guys, like pointing out when things are wrong, like pointing out behind bar when a drink is not good enough, like redo it. And just like setting that as the precedent and then empowering them to hold each other accountable. And so now we have this awesome, I would say it's an awesome culture of like holding each other accountable, holding each other to a high standard of excellence when it comes to just a 12-ounce latte. It's like, who cares? But we do. We really care, like, about the texture of the milk and like the latte art and constantly improving. So like almost all of my staff now, I used to be like I'm pretty solid at latte art. Like, I can do a 10-stack tulip or whatever, but like now they're all better than me. They're doing like double wing swans and because we have this culture of excellence where everyone is just constantly improving and encouraging each other to improve. And it's not perfect. Like, we have drama, we have staff issues. I don't always get along with my contractor guy all the time. I have a couple of real estate partnerships that are not perfect. I'm not going to make it sound like it is, but probably like leading people into excellence on the construction side and the coffee side. And I'm trying to think the photography, won't even get into that, has probably been the biggest challenge and the biggest lesson learned through the coffee shop that kind of can be implemented in other business stuff too.
Sure.
I've got no more question. I mean, I think the leadership is the hardest thing. I guess I'll make a comment. Do I have it back here? Have you ever read the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink?
Yeah, I listened to it on Audible. It's really good. Yeah, love that book.
That's a good book for leadership.
Yeah.
But I like that a lot.
That is a really good one. Just like learning to be humble and just to admit, like, even if it wasn't my fault, I try to figure out a way to make it my fault. Yesterday we had like, this is TMI, but like we had at the new building, which we just ran a full new sewer and a $15,000 manhole in the alley. And we had a backup yesterday and it like affected the other two businesses. And, I don't know whose fault that is. Who's putting paper towels in the toilet and causing the sewer to back up and sewage to like go inside this brand new commercial building? I don't freaking know, but like I took ownership and I'm like, hey, let me know what I can do to like pay for your drapes that got ruined, and let me know what I can do to prevent this, and just like taking ownership is a huge, and just like taking responsibility, and it goes a long way, and I think it builds trust with people too. That's a solid book.
Absolutely. Your podcast is titled The Legacy Investor, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, and we have a question we always ask all of our guests. This is maybe a variant or a variation of it, but what does legacy mean to you? And really, like, what does it mean beyond, let's say, financial wealth?
I ask a similar question on my podcast. So yeah, like legacy, I call it that because I think we all kind of want to leave a legacy of some sort. It's like everyone is leaving a legacy to some degree, but like what legacy are you leaving? You know, are you leaving a legacy as a father who was distant and on his phone all the time and busy, or a father who was present and played with his kids and like put his phone down at 5 p.m. Like that's who I want to be. So, you know, I think legacy touches like every area. It touches finances, it touches family, it touches faith. And so I just want to be a follower of Jesus and a good leader of my family and my 3 kids and my business and my employees and my contractors, and just like love them well as I possibly can, support them, pray for them, bless them as much as I can. And like that's the legacy I want to leave. And you know, like leaving a legacy of faith too. Like I want my kids to grow up and like love Jesus and love God and follow him, not because I did or not because I am or not because I told them they have to, but because it's like their decision. I just want that to be a legacy that I leave on earth. And you know, I say this on my podcast sometimes, like you are going to die. And I don't know if you knew that. So you're going to die. It could be tomorrow, could be in 50 years, but you're going to die. And so just thinking with eternity in mind, thinking with heaven in mind, thinking about like, I'm not going to be here forever. So what am I doing now, today, this week, this year to create a lasting legacy for my family and my, you know, myself. So that's kind of where the name comes from. I'm being like super long-winded today. I don't know what
No,
the
I
deal
like
is.
That's good stuff. So, Cameron, the question we ask all of our guests, again, a little bit of a variation. We are the Wealth Independence Podcast, and so we're curious, like, what do those words mean? Like wealth, independence, freedom, sort of that idea. What's that mean to you? How do you sort of live that in your everyday life?
Yeah, so I don't know where I learned this. My dad really has this analogy of like creating rivers of cash flow rather than just like a big lake. So if the analogy is water, you know, I think most people see retirement and see sort of time freedom as like you just got to build up this lake full of money and just make it big enough so that you have enough before you die. And just that's basically kind of the traditional way of retirement. But what I'm trying to do and what I feel like wealth and time freedom really is like having passive income, streams of passive income that are kind of on and flowing and dripping no matter whether you're working or not. And you know, basically enabling you to like be free and kind of do what you want to do whether you're working or not. So I think that's what I see, how I see wealth building is like how long could you go without working? That is really like the definition of how wealthy are you? How long could you go without working? Is it a day? Is it a week? Is it a month? Or is it like infinite? You know, you could pretty much like go. And if you can go until you die without working, I'd say you're truly financially free and have passive income. So that's kind of my definition of wealth independence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's the definition that Robert Kiyosaki gives in Rich
I
Dad
think you're
Poor
right.
Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the first time I know you mentioned that earlier, and that was reading that book, and that line was the first time I'd ever thought about it that way. And I think that's a fantastic way. I also definitely, if you don't mind, I would love to steal this whole idea of like rivers, like flowing rivers versus one giant lake, because I talk about that often, right? Like the traditional like nest egg view of retirement is, we got to make sure it's big enough
Yeah.
so that we can draw it down and it's going to last and all those problems. And
Next week's newsletter is going to be titled "Have Multiple Rivers, Not One Large Lake" or something.
yeah, there we go. That's what it's going to be. I love that analogy. That's so good. Like I think that makes a much better visual than anything else that I've ever heard. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. I think I got to give my dad credit for that one. So I think he taught me that.
Thank you, Mr. Philgreen. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us. It was a great conversation.
Yeah.
Great to be with you guys.
Cameron, how can people, if they want to connect with you, what's the best way to either social media or website or anything like that?
Instagram is Cameron_Philgreen. YouTube, Cameron Philgreen. I've got just a couple subs on there, but trying to ramp that up because I am documenting this shopping center rehab over the course of, it's probably going to be 12 or 18 months. And on Instagram, you can link in bio to, I do have like a mentorship program. You can reach out to me personally. You can hop into I do have a course about the BRRRR method. I've made more money than I ever expected just through this method. And it's a $99 course. Like, you should hop in there if you want to learn kind of the BRRRR method. Honestly, if you want to text me or email me, my number is 913-832-9919. And if you got anything out of this podcast, I'd love to know. And yeah, it's great to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll make sure all those links, everything, make it into the release notes. But yeah, thanks again for being on. It's a great conversation.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that was great. Enjoyed talking to Cameron. We talked a little bit after we stopped hitting record. I think we probably could have talked coffee for a lot longer than we did, but great conversation. Interesting to hear his journey. I don't know. You got any big takeaways that stood out to you?
A few, and not in a negative way, but you can kind of tell that he is solo operator, right? He's doing a lot of stuff himself. He's got employees. I think I was sitting there for a little while, and I think Russ Gray really pushed me in kind of a bigger, different direction to kind of be the one that's not doing everything. I think he's probably better than I was. He had at least has a team sitting underneath him, but there was just a few things I heard, like he's got a handful of units and he's flipping them and whatnot, and he's kind of hit that limit, right? Which I think me and you have been at. We've seen where you just, every new unit you take on is more work.
Yep.
And so I think he's doing a really good job of building some of those systems around him so you can actually start to continue to scale, and it's fun to see.
Yeah. I think I said this during the recording, but the whole rivers of cash flow versus one giant cash lake. I love that, man.
It was
I'm
good.
gonna
I would
use
take
that
a
one.
cash lake, but
What's that?
I would take a cash lake, but the rivers are good too.
I would too, but yeah, if someone wants to give me a cash lake, that's fine. But you definitely want to build those rivers of cash flow. But no, I think that's important. I liked his definition of legacy. I think you and I've talked a little bit about this some, right? Like, maybe not in that exact context, but like planning ahead, right? And thinking about what you want. Are you okay? You're like,
There's a fly, like right there.
okay,
It's gone now.
nice. Well, that's great for you to interrupt me talking about legacy, but
I wasn't interrupting you. You stopped me. I was looking.
it
There
was
was a buzzing.
distracting. Anyway, being intentional, right? Like I said, you and I talk about that a whole lot. And I think that's, if you start thinking about what it is that you want to leave behind in sort of all regards, right? Not just necessarily material possessions, but you talked a lot about his kids. And I think that that's very important. And you talk about intentionally designing your life. And I think legacy plays a large part of that. And then, of course, I mean, I'm very interested in the coffee. And we talked about that, like I said, after we stopped the recording, we could have talked a lot more. But it is interesting, right? And I think the other thing, the question I asked about the cross learnings from the business, the more things you do, and especially as you get sort of more experience in more areas, I've found this, right? Like, you can, obviously there's nothing wrong with going deep in one thing, but when you start getting experience across domains, you start seeing commonalities and themes that play out, and you can apply lessons that get learned in one area to lessons that or to things that need to be done somewhere else. And I think that applies in running a business. It applies in investing, right? I mean, I've certainly learned, as I've, through you, have ventured into oil and gas, I've learned a lot more there. And there's some things, you start seeing commonalities, and you start being able to put things in buckets, and you can take learnings from one and be able to put it to another. So, nothing wrong with going deep in something, having a lot of specialty or expertise, but also there's something to be said from getting a decent amount of experience and getting some of that breadth too. Any final thoughts?
No, it was an enjoyable conversation. I think people should reach out to him and pick his brain. He
Absolutely.
left a lot of contact information.
Yeah, and we'll make sure all those links are down in the show notes. Definitely gave his phone number. Reach out. If for anyone that's not familiar, we didn't talk a whole lot about this, about the BRRRR method. I think that typically applies more on single family homes, but I mean, that's effectively what we do in larger commercial properties, right? It's like, buy something, do something to increase the value, pull the money out, and go do it again, right? So that concept applies in If it's something that's new to you, definitely take him up on his course. It seems like it'd be a really good resource there. But we'll make sure all those links are in the release notes. Well, with that, we'll get out of here. We appreciate everyone for listening. If you enjoyed this, do all the stuff that we always ask. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up, 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and whatever the heck it is you do on Spotify. I have no idea. But do all that stuff. Let the computers know you're enjoying it. We'll get the message out to more people. But we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks again for listening. Just remember, where freedom leads, real wealth follows. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks for joining us on Wealth Independence. This show is for informational purposes only and is not financial, investment, legal, or tax advice and does not constitute an offer to buy or sell securities. All investments carry risk, and investors should always conduct thorough due diligence and consult with qualified professionals before investing. Until next time, remember, freedom leads and real wealth follows.